Alright guys, so I've been asked a ton of questions this year about racing, so I thought I'd make a somewhat quick top 5 tips that I've learned along the way, and this is going to be very basic, so I guess we'll get right into it. So tip number 1, get there early. There's a lot to do, from registering to setting up your chair and your canopy and getting your bike on the stand and checking everything over. I see a lot of people will pull in at 10:30, quarter to 11, and usually the cutoff for registration is 10:30. So I just don't see the point in getting there that late. There's a lot to do, and the last thing you want to do is overlook something during your setup because you were late. So tip number 1 for me, get there early. I typically like to be to whatever race I'm at least 3 hours early, because what I do is I find a place to park, which sometimes that's one of the hardest things to do, is find a place to park. So I find a place to park, I go immediately to registration, I get registered, and then once all that's done, I can come back to the truck, set up my canopy and my chair, and just go over the bike and my gear and make sure everything is all ready and in order, so I'm not rushed. Because I'm the kind of person that when I'm in a rush, I'm gonna forget something and I'm gonna get frustrated in the meantime. So tip number 1, get there early. I would say I like to be there, like I just said, 3 hours early, but I would say minimum 2 hours early to every race, and that should leave you with plenty of time. Okay, this is going to be tip number 2, but guys, you're going to want to stick around to tip number 5 because I think that's the most important, at least it is to me. But tip number 2 would be, make sure you bring a hydration pack. I see some people try to race without them, and what you got to remember, especially if you're new to racing and you show up, you're going to be on that course. If it's a Hare Scramble, you're going to be on that course anywhere from 2 to 3 hours. So in Michigan, our races are 2 hours plus 1 lap. So that usually equals out to about 2.5 hours for most of us. So a hydration pack is essential. You got to remember, you're going to be out there for 2+ hours without stopping, and you're going to need something to drink. And also, what goes in the hydration pack, my first year of racing, I just was drinking water, but now into my 3rd year, I kind of, you learn as you go, and now I'm using a carbohydrate electrolyte mix, which helps a lot. So that would be my tip number 2. Always wear a hydration pack, and I would say something with at least 2 liters capacity. I have a 2 liter and a 3 liter, and most of the time I use my 3 liter, and I usually drink it all within the 3 hours that I'm out there. So that's tip number 2. Okay, tip number 3, especially if you're brand new, it's your first or second race, my tip is, for tip number 3, don't actually race, just go to ride it. Treat it like a trail ride. Ride to your skill level, because if you're new to racing, one of the easiest things to do is to get caught up in the actual race on that first lap and burn yourself out. Either you're going to waste all your energy right away and not be able to make it to the end of the race, or you're going to crash. And every time we lay the bike down, picking the bike up, if you're on a hill or off camber or maybe in deep sand, you're just wasting energy. So I know for me, the first 3 races I ever did, I just treated it like a trail ride. Don't actually try to race your first couple races. That's my tip number 3. Okay, tip number 4. Make a checklist and actually pack the truck the night before, and that way when you get up in the morning you're all ready to go. I just go out to the truck, scan everything real quick with my checklist, and make sure you have everything. And the reason why I say make a checklist is because I always bring 2 helmets. I bring 2 sets of goggles. Me personally, I have my camera gear. Yeah, you're gonna want to bring, you know, your chair, your canopy, extra gas. If you got a bike like this where I always have to top off my gas within the last few laps, you know, you're gonna want gas. There's you know, your snacks for before, your breakfast. There's so many things that you're gonna need. Goggle cleaner. There's just so many things that you're gonna need, and you can't possibly think of it all the morning of. So number 1, make a checklist. Number 2, I would say, is, you know, pack the truck the night before, and then double check everything with your checklist the next morning before you head out. So that's my tip number 4. I hope that helps. Okay guys, tip number 5, and it's the most important. If you've got your first or second race out of the way and you're actually going to try racing, being physically prepared is probably the most important thing. So when it comes to hare scrambles, at least here in Michigan, our hare scrambles are 2 hours plus 1 lap. So that means you're usually on the course for roughly 2.5 hours to 2 hours and 45 minutes. So being physically ready is the most important thing. Now, I'm in my 3rd year of racing, and the first year I would just show up. I didn't do anything physically to prepare. I would show up and I could barely even make it in my truck to get home. Fast forward to 2nd year, I took up running, and that helped a lot. You know, doing cardio does help. But being in year 3, I found Mosto Fitness, and Mosto Fitness is off the bike training that's specifically made for dirt bike racers. So, you know, most of us have played sports, you know, growing up in high school, and what does every sport do? They have their tailor-made programs for that sport. Well, that's what Mosto Fitness is. So Coach Tyler is a high-level racer himself. He's worked for several years to put this program together. I started this year, and I'm absolutely blown away. It's made me such a better rider on the bike, and not only that, I get to the end of the race and I can talk and load up and have fun, and like I'm not dying like I used to. So Mosto Fitness, off the bike training. If you're interested in sport specific training, I'm gonna leave a link pinned in the comments, and that link will get you a free week of training. I highly recommend you try it. I know it changed the way I ride, and I'll be on this program for the foreseeable future, because I'm starting out on the single jump program. There's a double jump program, and then there's one above that. So I have a long ways to go. But in 6, how many races have we done? In about 6 races, well, I've been doing the program about 7 months now. It has completely changed everything, changed the way I ride. Just for instance, when I go trail riding, I don't get tired. I do not get tired when I go trail riding. Now, races, you know, obviously it doesn't matter how good a shape you're in. You're going to get tired towards the end of a race, but the difference is night and day. I swear by this program. Coach Tyler is nice enough to offer you guys a free week of training. Again, that link will be pinned in the comments. Highly recommend it, guys. So if you guys like this video, I can go into way more detail about gear and like a top 10 tips and everything. This was kind of just like a real basic top 5 tips. So if that's something you guys want to see, let me know in the comments. I'd be more than happy to make that video. So all right guys, thanks for watching.